Welcome to an audio description of a live stage production of Hamartia. We all miss the mark. In association with New Scottish Arts and Mark McGreehan Productions. Written and directed by Jerry Averill. Original music by Nathan Mell. The stage lights come up on the inside of a small house in Jerusalem. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is in prayer. After some deliberation, Mary goes to open the door.
Coming. Coming.
A young man enters.
John Mark.
Mary, please, I need to speak with you.
Well, of course. Come in. Oh, may I fix you a cup of tea? It may take a bit because I'm still trying to figure out where John keeps everything in his house. I look where I think a woman would put something and, oh, good. There's nothing there, but bachelors.
No, thank you. I've actually come for more than a casual conversation.
Then you will have my undivided attention. Please, sit down.
No, thank you. I don't think I could. Far too much on my mind. You know, I find that walking and pacing, it helps me think. Oh, it drives my mother crazy.
Would you sit still for just a minute so I can catch a glimpse of you?
I just seem to think better this way.
Then pace all you like, but I will give these weary bones of mine a rest, if you don't mind.
Mary goes to her chair and sits.
Often it seems the trivial and the mundane always have a louder voice than more serious matters. The little day-to-day issues seem to fuss about you like an unhappy child crying for a biscuit when what you are trying to do is fix a somewhat healthy tea.
Yes. Is it those little annoyances? The ones that nip at my heels, that make me stumble more than once before I finish the race? Is it those little things? Or is it our focus on them? Is it our obsession with them? You know, my mother will say, don't let it distract you. Just kick it out of the way. Just keep on running. But it's not that easy.
Perhaps God designed it that way, to give us a bit of distraction from time to time from those larger things that might drive us to despair, like the cross.
I wish I could be more single-minded. I wish I could be more like Jesus.
What do you mean?
The cross. His single-mindedness towards the cross. It's almost as if it was his goal, his finish line. You know, I look back on everything that's happened this week. It's not just his death, it's the process of it. He didn't let anything keep him from the cross. Why? I've heard him teach. I've seen him speak. And I've seen him take on the most learned of Pharisees, all of whom were intent on nothing but destroying Jesus, and he stopped them with nothing but his words. Surely he could have persuaded Pilate. Pilate didn't want this. He wanted Jesus to go free. Why else would he have tried to release him? But those people, the people stirred up by the very same Pharisees that Jesus had out-taught and outwitted and outloved
time and time again, they wouldn't stop. Surely Jesus could have persuaded Pilate, given him a reason not to go through with the crucifixion, but he didn't. Why?
That is a question only he could answer. But you said you came to see me. What possible advice could I give to such an animated young man?
Oh, your son. Jesus, is what I'm hearing true? The women, they saw him, they spoke to him, the tomb is empty. Is he alive like Lazarus?
Young man, you are asking the same questions I've been asking since I first heard myself. I'm glad you're here. Perhaps together we can make sense of this puzzle. A puzzle I've been trying to figure out since I was a young girl. I don't know if the puzzle is really that complicated, or if I'm just having trouble accepting the simplicity of it.
What puzzle?
When I was not much younger than you, I was visited by an angel of the Lord.
Like Abraham? And Jacob and Gideon?
I never thought of it that way before, but yes. And if his words to our forefathers prove faithful, then I can trust his promises still, even though the circumstances right now don't seem to affirm them.
What promises?
The birth of Jesus. No, it was more than that, for that part came true. It was the reason for his birth, the fulfillment of God's promises that I'm having trouble making sense of.
What did they say?
First, he told me not to be afraid. And then he told me that I had found favor with God. I didn't know how to take that. I was no one special, just a simple girl, not that different from any other girl in my village. But now I know the fact that I had been given favor by God had nothing to do with anything I did, but everything to do with who God is. His favor was given to me, not earned.
Yes, that's what Jesus was all about. Those he touched, those he healed, those he freed from demons, that was given, not earned. And maybe that's why the Pharisees didn't know what else to do with it, except to kill him.
And that is my puzzle, as well as my great sorrow, his death. The angel said Jesus would become the greatest of men. He would be known as the Son of the Most High God. God would give him the throne of his father David, and he would reign over Jacob's family forever. I believe those promises like our people have been taught. The Messiah, a liberator to free us from the Romans. And my logic said, if he would rule forever, he would live forever. He didn't have an earthly father. His father was God Almighty. Somehow, I never thought Jesus would be touched by death. As I watched Jesus die on that cross, I not only lost my son, I thought that God's promises had lost their power. And if his promises could lose their power, could he lose his power? Oh, what dangerous paths our minds can wander down when we take our eyes off of the author of life, when we measure time through our own limited understanding. Those little things that nip at our heels, as you say, that demand our focus from the most important thing in life, what God is doing right here, right now.
And what is that?
God's redemption of his people. And if Jesus is alive,
And the cross was his goal. Did Jesus know that all along? Is that what he was praying about the night he was arrested?
is what Jesus was praying about? What pieces of this puzzle do you possess?
I was there the night he was arrested.
And you have not told this to anyone because?
Because of what I did or didn't do.
Will you tell me, please?
I knew that Jesus and the disciples were in Jerusalem for Passover. The way that Jesus had asked them to find a place to celebrate Passover, well, it was fodder for gossip in the towns. It doesn't stay secret for very long. I wish I could have been there. But I was observing Passover with my mother's family. All had gone to bed. Oh, but I couldn't sleep. There was an excitement in the air. An agitation, a tangible darkness. I was in bed when I heard a chorus of men's voices laughing and talking, and one in particular arguing. Peter. Well, I poked my head out the window to watch and listen and in some small way be a part of what was happening. Jesus had apparently just told the 12 that they were all going to desert him. No, there were 11. I remember I counted the group and there were only 11. I can't remember who was missing or why.
Mary Magdalene quietly enters the house, unnoticed.
Because my thoughts were interrupted when I heard Jesus say, "All of you will desert me tonight. Just as it is written by the prophet Zechariah, I will strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter." But then he said, "When I am raised up, I will go ahead of you to Galilee."
When I am raised up, he knew. He knew it all.
Well, then it must be true. The women did see him.
Yes, it is true. I saw him. I spoke with him.
Mary!
It's so good to see you again, my dear. Come in and join us.
That is what the angel in the tomb told me to tell the disciples, to meet Jesus in Galilee. When did he say this?
John Mark is telling me what happened the night Jesus was arrested. What happened next?
A deafening silence came over the group, and Jesus touched a few of the men to reassure them. And then they turned to resume their journey. It was at that point that I think he glanced at me, peering out of my bedroom window, inviting me to come on a journey that I too would fall short on. I can't be sure, because all of a sudden the night was shattered with Peter shouting, "No, Lord! It doesn't matter who else turns his back on you. I will never leave you." Jesus raised his hand to silence Peter. Although it wasn't to rebuke him, there was love in his voice. I think it was more of an effort to keep Peter from making an even bigger fool of himself than he already had. Jesus looked at Peter and he said, "Mark my words. This very night, before the cock crows twice, you will have denied me 3 times. But instead of quieting Peter, he just got even louder. He said, "No, teacher, even if it means I have to die, I will never, never deny you." And of course, the others, they all found courage in Peter's words because they're all shouting, "I will never leave you, and I will never leave you." And I think I got caught up a bit in the moment as well, because the next thing I realised, I was following them down the street in nothing but a bedsheet. Well, I didn't know where they were going, and I didn't want to take the time to dress because I thought I might lose them, so I followed them. I followed them to the Garden of Gethsemane, and when they stopped, I slipped behind an olive tree. Jesus said to the disciples, "Wait here while I pray." But he didn't go alone. He took Peter and John and James with him. So I thought it would be okay if I followed along at a distance. But as that distance between Jesus and the disciples grew, so did his distress. A visible sorrow like I've never seen before seemed to come over Jesus. He said to the three, "My heart is so heavy, I feel that I could die. So wait here and stay awake to keep watch." Well, I thought I should stay with the three and keep my distance, but there's a voice in agony that cannot be silenced. I heard him. I heard Jesus speak to his Father like I've never heard anyone speak to the Almighty before. And as he walked away, he seemed to crumble under the weight of his burden. He fell to the ground and he said, "Abba, Father, please. For you I know anything is possible. So please take this cup so I don't have to drink from it. But whatever happens, let your will be done, not mine."
The cross. He must have been praying about the cross.
"Oh, Mary, oh, please forgive me.
John Mark goes to Mary.
I didn't mean to bring you back to this pain."
No. It helps to know that Jesus could have walked away from the cross, but he didn't. The cross, that is the key. His death, his sacrifice, his sacrifice. Jesus was God's sacrifice. He said it himself. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save that which is lost. Oh, please, please, I need to hear it all.
Well, Jesus got up from praying and returned to Peter and John and James, and he found them fast asleep. He woke them up and he said, "Couldn't you stay awake for an hour? Stay awake and pray that you aren't led into a trial of your own?" I know that while the spirit can be willing, the body can betray it. Well, this happened 3 times. Jesus praying for his Father's release, and then returning to find the disciples fast asleep. And when it happened the 3rd time, Jesus said, "The time has come. The Son of Man will be betrayed to the hands of sinners. Get up now and let's go, because the one who is going to betray me is close by." Jesus could have walked away. He could have slipped behind a tree and left the garden untouched. That's what I thought he would do, and I suppose that's what the disciples thought he would do too. But Jesus turned and walked in the direction of the crowd. And Judas, the one who was missing when I saw them in the street, well, Judas was approaching with a large group of people, agents of the priests, the scribes, the elders of Jerusalem, all of them armed with clubs and swords. Judas approached and greeted Jesus with the customary kiss, and greeted him as my teacher.
How could he have done that?
The crowd immediately grabbed Jesus and took him into custody.
And his disciples, did they just stand there?
Well, Peter drew his sword.
John Mark picks up a stick from the kindling and begins swinging it about as a sword.
Actually, it was more of a small dagger.
John Mark breaks the stick in half.
And he cut off the ear of one of the slaves of the high priest Caiaphas. But even as Jesus reached out his hand to heal the man, he said, "Am I a thief? Am I a bandit? That you have come here with daggers and swords and clubs to take me in? I sat with you in the temple every day, and you could have taken me then, but you didn't. Let the scriptures be fulfilled."
Let the scriptures be fulfilled. Which scriptures?
All of them. Do you remember? Jesus said, "Do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I did not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them." You were right. Jesus was focused on the cross for a reason, to fulfill God's requirement of a perfect sacrifice, the perfect sacrificial lamb.
The disciples fled. So did I.
John Mark, you had no business being there in the first place.
I know, but I wanted to be one of Jesus' followers. Like Peter. But I ran.
Like Peter, and like the rest of them.
I cannot say I wouldn't have done the same thing. How did you get away?
Well, when the crowd grabbed me, I was able to wriggle free. They only got a hold of my bedsheet, so I was able to leave the garden with nothing on.
Oh, my poor boy.
I left them holding just the bedsheet. My mother's best bedsheet.
Well, I, for one, am glad you're safe.
I know, but I had to let go of the sheet in order to escape. I had to let go of what was covering me, what was protecting me. But as I ran, I realized that it wasn't the bedsheet that I missed, it was Jesus. He was my covering, he was my protection. And I let him go to run.
And he would forgive you. We all miss the mark. We all fall short.
Well, not all of us.
Oh, yes, all. Even me. When Jesus left Nazareth to begin his ministry, to begin what I thought would be his rise to the throne of David, let's just say that this Jewish mother did not think he was going about it the right way. Once his brothers and I went after him to set him straight, to bring him home. We thought he had gone mad. Oh, yes, I have missed the mark more than once.
And the disciples. Those men who were closest to him. Do you know where these men are now? These disciples who said they would give their lives for him. These disciples whom the angel told me to tell would meet them in Galilee. They are locked together in a room somewhere, hiding in a tomb they made for themselves out of their own fears, as if a locked door could keep the Roman soldiers out.
Or keep Jesus out.
What?
Well, you said it yourself. Or at least the stories I heard you women say speak of it. You know, that Jesus' grave clothes, they weren't unwrapped. They were still together, like he had just slipped out of them.
Yes, that is what we saw.
Well, if Jesus can slip out of his grave clothes, and he can slip out of a tomb, and slip out of death, then I imagine he could probably slip through a locked door.
The simple faith of youth.
What?
The simple faith of youth. Oh, Mark, don't lose that. Don't lose that ability to believe that anything is possible. Jesus once said, "Don't stop these children from coming to me, because unless we can become like them, we will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Oh, Mark, you beautifully brilliant boy. Excuse me, young man.
Mary Magdalene takes a moment to really consider all the facts and suddenly comes up with a new thought.
I'm going to Galilee.
What?
I'm going to Galilee.
Why?
That is where the angel told me to tell the disciples to meet him in Galilee. But I hadn't remembered then what I remember now. Jesus told us he was going to rise. When the Pharisees asked for a sign, Jesus said, "The only sign you'll be given is the sign of the prophet Jonah." Jonah spent 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a great fish, as the Son of Man will spend 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the earth. But I didn't remember that until after I spoke to him.
Yes. Yes.
I went to the tomb with the other women to finish preparing Jesus' body for burial. I was devastated by what we found. An open tomb and what we thought would be an empty grave. But inside the tomb was a man. No, more than a man. A being, all in white, as bright as light. He was just sitting there as if he had been waiting for us. He said, "Don't be afraid. You have come seeking Jesus of Nazareth, the one who was crucified. He is gone. He has risen. See the place where his body was laid." That's when I saw his grave clothes, still wrapped together. He continued, "Go back and tell Peter and his disciples that he goes before you into Galilee, just as he said. You will see him there." So I ran to tell Peter. He and John immediately ran to the tomb and I followed behind. But by the time we got there, I had to stop. We collapsed outside the tomb, grieving, crying, my tears springing from a well so deep inside, so birthed in pain I could not stop them. When I looked up, I saw the man in white and another man sitting at the head and feet of where Jesus' body once had been. I heard a voice ask me, "Why are you weeping?" "They have taken my Lord away. I cannot find him." I turned away and saw another man just in front of me outside the tomb, but I could not stop my tears to get a good look at him. I thought perhaps he was the gardener. He also asked me, Woman, why are you sobbing? Who is it you are looking for? Sir, if you are the one who carried him away, then tell me where he is and I will retrieve him. Then I heard him say my name. I knew it was Jesus. I cried out Rabboni and ran to him. He said, Mary, you cannot hold me. I must rise above this world to be with my Father, who is also your Father, my God, who is also your God. Go and tell this to all my brothers.
Do not hold him. But that is all I long to do, to wrap my arms around my son one more time.
I don't think that is what he meant. He told us before the cross that he would rise. The angel told us he had risen. The two men told me again that Jesus was alive. But I could not grasp it. I could not understand all of who Jesus was, all of what he had done. To me, he was the same man I had been touched by, healed by. The same man I had walked with, saw teach and heal and judge the Pharisees, and then die on that cross. All I wanted was the Jesus I knew. And though he is all of that, he's more. He's so much more than I could understand at that moment. I think perhaps that is what he was saying to me. Don't hold me to the man you once knew. Don't expect me to remain the same, for that which I came to accomplish is finished. All that we thought the Messiah would be, he wasn't. He confounded us all by being who we never expected, but who God purposed. It's as if God chose the foolish things of this world to shame the wise, the weak things of this world to shame the strong. Think about it. It wasn't the disciples. It wasn't the religious leaders. It was a small group of women. We were the first to find the empty tomb. We were the first to hear the good news. We were the first to see him alive. And we were the first to be told to tell others that he would be in Galilee.
So you want to go to Galilee? Right now?
There is no better time to meet with Jesus than right now.
And you don't even want to wait for the disciples?
They have been told the choice is theirs to make. It's a choice we must all make for ourselves. Let them hide in their room if that's what they choose. They must make their own decision to find him. Just like you. They have to let go of the world they have wrapped themselves in and run. Run to him. Before I met Jesus, I was ruled by 7 demons. I had not one, but 7 masters telling me what to do, what to say, how to live. But now there is only one whom I will listen to, only one whom I will follow, and that is Jesus. He said to meet him in Galilee. He found me once when I was locked inside my own prison, but nothing, absolutely Absolutely nothing kept Jesus from me then. From finding me, from forgiving me, from freeing me from my demons. And now nothing will keep me from him. He did not let anything stop him on his journey to the cross. And nothing could stop him from rising from the dead. So what could possibly stop me from meeting him now? A trip to Galilee? The disdain of those who refuse to believe? The fear of what others might think? He said he would be in Galilee.
So, a trip to Galilee.
No, a journey to Jesus, whose name is to save.
Stage lights fade to black.
Some knew you as Lord. I knew you as friend. Some say you were dead. I say you rose again. We all miss the mark. We all miss the mark. All but Jesus. All but Jesus. All but Jesus, all but Jesus. They took you away. A sacrifice was made. The scriptures fulfilled. In only 3 days, we all miss the mark. We all miss the mark. All but Jesus, all but Jesus, all but Jesus, all but Jesus.
Romans chapter 10, verse 9. For if you publicly declare with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will experience salvation. From the Passion Translation. Ending film credits. Hamartia, we all miss the mark. Written and directed by Jerry Averill. Original music by Nathan Mell. Cast in order of appearance: Elizabeth Averill as Mary, the mother of Jesus. Andy Bullock as John Mark. May McDougall as Mary Magdalene. Narration: by Joanna Cooper. Voice recording at Seagate Studio, Dundee, Scotland. Camera operators Mark McGreehan and Jerry Averill. Film editor and sound engineer Mark McGreehan. Music We All Miss the Mark. Music and lyrics by Nathan Mell. Performed by Nathan Mell. This film, its content, and all music is protected by copyright law and may not be reproduced in any form without written permission from the original creators. If you have questions about Jesus, please email Herald's Trust at enquiries@theheraldstrust.org or go to http://uk.alpha.org/find a course.